Order. Question number 6. Honourable Damien O'Connor.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister of Primary Industries, does he have confidence in his department?
Honourable Joe Goodhue.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister for Primary Industries, yes. In particular, I have confidence in the support MPI provides to all in the primary sector, and as an example, today a medium-scale adverse event has been declared across most of the east coast of the South Island. There are still tough times ahead for many farmers, but farmers are resilient, and today's announcement confirms that this government and the Ministry for Primary Industries will back them through this.
Supplementary question, the Honourable Damien O'Connor.
How can he have confidence in his department when the Auditor-General has found that his officials could not yet show what the $322 million committed and the $129 million spent so far on the Primary Growth Partnership has achieved? And of the 6 programs fully audited, it said, quote, "It is too soon to observe any economic benefit," unquote.
Mr Speaker,
Honourable Joe Goodhue.
On behalf of the Minister for Primary Industry, well, the Minister has confidence in the PGP, but also an understanding that this is a long process. The OAG report showed that the reporting that is currently underway could be made more simple for the average reader in the street, and we have certainly taken that on board. But I remind the member that there are not only detailed websites, quarterly reports, a regular newsletter, an annual expo, presence at the field days, program steering groups, quarterly progress reporting, annual plans and audits to show the public of New Zealand what they will get over the long term. As I've already explained today, the NZIER report out to 2025 shows the billions of dollars that will actually be available to the economy of New Zealand, but this is a long-term game, not a short-term political game.
Supplementary, Mr
Supplementary question, Honourable Damien O'Connor.
Mr Speaker, does he still consider the Primary Growth Partnership to be his flagship policy, quote, to double the value of primary exports by 2025, given that halfway through the program, his ministry cannot show what has been achieved?
Honourable Joe Goodhue.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister for Primary Industries, the PGP project is but one of the things that this government is working on to achieve our export double, and the member is remiss in thinking it is as simple as just one project. In fact, under the Ministry of Primary Industries and also the Ministry for Foreign Affairs and Trade, the development of export markets, the development of food safety, security, all of these play into the ability of New Zealand to meet that export double. And we also know that the research and development that is going on in the primary industry sector will help us achieve that. I am sure that during the fullness of time and with all of the monitoring and reports that I've already outlined to the member, the progress will be seen. The NZIER report was an independent report, and it predicted what we would gain from this.
Supplementary, Mr
Supplementary
Speaker.
question, the Honourable Damien O'Connor.
Mr Speaker, what other areas of government funding would allow the spend of $129 million without any identifiable economic benefits, and in the words of the Auditor-General, quote, no ability to show what PGP as a whole has achieved, unquote?
Honourable Joe Goodhue.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister for Primary Industries, there were some learnings in the OAG report, but it was largely a positive report, and it acknowledged that in the fullness of time, the independent auditing of these projects, which in fact is made available, will show the gains. We've already had, there are 16 projects underway, 2 projects have completed successfully, and there are 2, yes, successfully. I can certainly assure the member that the Stimber project was completed successfully. So the member should spend a little bit more time reading all of the documented evidence that these projects are going well.
Supplementary, Mr Speaker.
Order.
Mr
Supplementary
Speaker.
question, the Honourable Damien O'Connor.
Mr Speaker, isn't it true that the Primary Growth Partnership Program is nothing more than corporate welfare on a massive scale? And why should taxpayers have any confidence that their money is being spent responsibly when shonky deals like this and the Sky City Convention deal are nothing more than now standard National Party policy?
Order. Honourable Joe Goodhue, either of those two supplementary questions.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister for Primary Industries, I think when the public of New Zealand look at Precision Seafood Harvesting Sustainable Fishing Program, which has won 3 different innovation awards and the People's Choice Award for its technology, it catches fish alive and unharmed, just one example of how important and how successful the PGP project has been for New Zealand and will continue to be. Only the member seems to be lacking completely in confidence.
Question number 7, Alfred Nato.